Okay, yeah. All right, so let's do the quick recap of the game 2, the round 2. Magnus won the second game. It's pretty wild affair. Alright, so black plays this move order supposes that black is willing to go for the Gingy Indian, but e4 and e6. This move allows also the alternative of black knight developing to e7 in addition to f6. And it's unclear, yeah, whether the knight is better off on e7 or f6. Some pluses and minuses both developments. Okay, but h3. Useful move, preventing bishop g4. White just plans to play bishop d3, castle, then finish the development. And knight to e7. Usually they take on d5, knight e7, but okay, knight e7 immediately. The problem with this immediate knight e7 is that black plays way too many waiting moves. He's trying to play maybe g5, knight g6, but white takes on e6 and plays bishop f4. And this is actually a very safe way to play for white. He needs only a draw, remember? Because he won the first game was black, Magnus only needs a draw here. So he puts black into a difficult psychological situation where black has no choice but to play actively. So take when a5. According to the engine, g5 was very interesting. I don't know how interesting that is, but it is kind of interesting to force the bishop to choose, because on f4 it has control over both diagonals. Yeah? So when you play g5, I think probably just take bishop d2, but apparently black has very strong initiative because every piece is developed. Rook is coming to e8. Actually looks pretty good for black. Yeah, I mean castles, but maybe it's only compensation, nothing more, because white can sort of just give this pawn back. If you take, knight takes with the tempo, and because he wants to do this, so you have to accept this trade. Knight takes, so you keep this rook takes f2, rook e1, and apparently this game is very close to equal because of this knight f6, bishop f3, pair of bishops, so white is okay. Yeah, so black definitely does not want to trade the queen, so I think queen a5 is correct. And now the engine suggests bishop d2, but I think queen d2 is more normal. So queen d2 back, white is ready to play knight d5. So in worst case scenario for white, you're gonna trade this pawn b2 for d6, but you get this very nice knight, and at some point black will have to deal with it, yeah, creating white the pass pawn. So knight b4 doesn't seem right, to be honest. Yeah, it seems right to immediately challenge the center to sort of break up the support, the foundation of this knight on d5. So f5 made sense, but it's always tactics. So he plays knight b4, I think is okay, because this was kind of a very strange move. It gave black time, you know, gave black time to play this, and now he plays knight d3, and this was probably a big problem because with this move, first of all, this bishop is not that great right now. Black knight is pretty good. And second of all, when you play knight d3, you allow white to complete the development pretty much, you know, and then white is okay. I mean, he was thinking, you know, that he will get the pawn back and pair of bishops and everything, but apparently simple knight c6. And now white is faced with a lot of problems because knight d4, knight b3 is coming. very clear threat. And if you play knight d2, even f5 is possible, yeah. And the idea is to play f4 and lock this bishop. So even pawn down, black will have huge control over these squares, potential attack on the king side, but most importantly, central domination. Yeah, but okay, it's complicated, yeah. But the move in the game, play take here. Obviously, if black does not take this pawn, white plays knight d5, just extra pawn for nothing, so he takes. And knight d5, very interesting move by Magnus Carlsen, very interesting move. Yeah, if you play normally, black's just gonna castle and have pair of bishops, some sort of compensation, but after knight d5, the threat is obviously knight c7 check, and you want to take the bishop. So black has only one move, you have to take this knight. And now the threat of this pawn staying alive, hitting the rook and supporting this pawn with the tempo, black has to take it, yeah? So rook e1. So what I like about this game is there is no discord. What I like about this game is how Magnus sacrificed 2 pawns to get the aggression, okay? He needs the draw, but the way he plays, he sacrifices the pawns and he puts his opponent on the defensive who needs to win. So psychologically, this is not so great for black, yeah? Chess-wise speaking, you know, full compensation because this is weak. I mean, what is weak is that by such pawn advance, black weakens the defense for his king. Right now, the king can't castle, which means this rook is out of the game for now. And there's some serious threats. You know, white wants to double here, and then b4. So black's extra pawn is absolutely meaningless right now, and he needs to finish the development. So he plays queen d8 first line, white plays queen c4 first line, again prevents castling because the rook is 7, queen d5, and he has to play queen d7. He plays king f8, and this is not such a great move apparently. He had to play queen d7 first, possibly with the idea of playing b5 and removing this queen from this great square. Yeah, so again, very tricky position. It's not very clear how white can play here. I think queen e2 is reasonable. Queen b3, I don't really understand, because do you really want to play rook d1 here? Unclear. For example, bishop f6. Okay, the idea is to play bishop e5 and then remove the queen from this diagonal and check. Alright, and if you play b6, it's rook e3, and the threat is rook takes e, doubling the rooks. Also queen takes the square under control. Okay, so he plays king f8, and the computer suggests rook e2, simple doubling of the rooks on the e file with the certain advantage actually. But Magnus plays knight e5, and again, a lot of psychology, because you don't want to give this bishop, but this knight sort of pins this rook because of the mate. And knight is very active, also prevents knight g6, prevents knight c6. But most importantly, rook wants to come here thanks to the spin, activating the rook. Hello, Mr. Master Vriatovic. Good evening from Portugal. Is Magnus better than Pig Gary? I don't know. It's hard to compare these two, yeah? Hard to compare. They both excel at certain stages of the game. Magnus is extremely accurate. Gary is also actually very accurate, but he's also very dynamic. And I don't know, to be honest. So black plays knight c6, and after this move, I think white is back. For some reason, the computer suggests h5, possibly with the idea of bringing the rook via h6 square. Like, let's take a look. h5, rook d1, Oh, rook d1 is impossible because of bishop e5. Wow, okay. So, oh, that's actually very important, yeah. Because you take this bishop with the check. And if you play this, then black plays here, and rook e6, and this is very unclear, yeah. Yeah, I think black is fine here. So this move was kind of weird. Let's see why the engine thinks rook e2 is better. Because you have to play this, right? If rook e1, king g7. And the idea is that you play like this. It's just equal because of rook e8. Yeah, because the spin is very strong, bishop and knight. And it seems the game goes to the endgame, and in the endgame, bishop and knight are not really better than rook and these pawns, especially if rook manages to attack something. So this is good for black. Okay, knight e5, knight c6 allows rook d1 and rook d4, but rook d4 nobody's gonna play, so king h1. Again, prophylactic grandmaster move. You want to play f4 and you want to avoid any possible tactics involving this knight move and hanging rook on d1. Alright, b5 looks reasonable, but again, h5 with the idea rook h6, because black needs to get this rook into the game. Yeah, black needs to get the rook into the game, because after b5, what happened is that there are a lot of threats now, yeah, including knight c6, thanks to the spin. Potentially this pawn is weak, and it's already advantage white, yeah. So he plays h5, but this allows knight c6 and knight e7 and knight e5, thanks to the spin. Extremely dangerous for black, because this knight is super advanced. If you play c4, runs into queen e3, and again a lot of pins, and this knight is untouchable. Okay. Plus the problem with this knight is that your rook can no longer join the game. That's the biggest problem. That is the biggest problem. And and this game pretty much ended like in a few moves. He had to play bishop f6, rook g8, rook g6, and run with the king, but very hard to see. Plays queen g6, now Magnus sees the combo and he goes for it. And boom, black resigns. Yeah, it's amazing, yeah, it's just mate. Amazing mate, yeah, out of nowhere. Just because of this knight presence, yeah, amazing. Black resigns because check, and it's just mate. Thanks to this guy controlling this square and bishop controlling this square. Yeah, it's amazing that black blundered this actually, you know. But it's incredible how quickly his position unraveled, yeah. Here, his position is very decent. He plays h5, he brings the rook, if b4, then b5, queen d3, and rook h6, and just in time, and no more knight c6, yeah. And black is better, okay. And instead he plays this immediately and does not play h5. He plays h5, but here some inaccuracies start, yeah. I'm wondering what is wrong with queen d7, knight e7, just an exchange, yeah. So queen b6 is correct, rook d8 is correct, and just really terrible blunder. I'm pretty sure Magnus has to see this, yeah, before he plays this line, because if you don't have bishop c7, then your only move is bishop queen e4. Try to go here, and then bishop f6, and it's not so clear actually. But you know, after bishop c7, just winning. Yeah, it's out of thin air, mate. Yeah. All right, so that was Magnus Carlsen game. We're gonna go like by results. By the way, next round he plays his comrade, Mr. Arian Tari, who really improved in the last couple of years. All right, and this is the game by Tari, who plays. No, this is a draw, and today's game was he won. Wait. Oh yeah. We saw this game yesterday. He won with black. So today he needed a draw, and mission accomplished. All right. So Tari is playing white. He needs to make a draw. Good evening, Mr. Dr. Ganto. All right. Obviously, the best way to play for a draw is to go offensive. Yeah. Best defense is a good offense. So E4. All right, and A4. Yeah, it's quite interesting, you know, that this move is finally starting to get some practice at the top level. Yeah, because I was like the only one who plays this line consistently, and consistently getting good results. So G6. Here I showed that this Bishop E3 line, which I pioneered for many years, again finally gets recognition. Because white's position after A5 is so solid, man. Yeah, and it's also advantage because of the pawn structure. Queen C7, Bishop D4, but he had to play Bishop B6, yeah, to prevent this triple lining, because now black is fine. Black is fine. Black is a little bit better now. Let's see how black plays. It's not simple. So what happens if black plays rook c5? That's the first question, because you attack the pawn, you force white rook here, and then you play knight f6. That's how black should have played, okay? Get this rook to the passive square. Now you have control of the fifth. And again, the problem is that it's still not easy to break through this cement wall, yeah? How do we break through this? The computer shows that you have to play this, but trade in c3. I think white is extremely solid here. Extremely solid. Rook comes, and you know, the more trades happen, the closer we go to the heavy rook, heavy piece endgame, the likely is to be a draw. So I'm not a big fan of this d5. I think bishop d7. G4. Really? With the rooks on the A file away from the action, this does not seem correct. What is this G4, man? It doesn't seem correct at all. If I play H6, G5, take. Okay, the knight has no good squares though, yeah. The knight has no good squares. That's why he plays bishop e6 instead of this, and with g5, knight d7. Bishop d3, connecting the pawns so you can reroute your knight. Yeah, so bishop d7 then is a waste of tempo, yeah. But if you play bishop c4, white can just play this. And black has to find this maneuver. Yeah, so this is a very tricky position. I still think rook c5 is a good idea. But apparently even better is to play b5, because you have to take with the queen, forces the trades. And this endgame is good for black, because of this incredible pressure, knight going to c5, and this pawn becoming loose. So advantage probably black. He should have played like this, yeah? But again, if you need to win, It's really hard to go for the queen trade, yeah. But strategically speaking, that was the best decision. But okay, knight f6, black is okay. Rook c5, rook a1. Okay, so we're actually seeing all this. Bishop d3. What about bishop b5 here, yeah? Take, a6, and white gets the file. Bishop controls everything. So no bishop b5, e5 actually makes sense. That's what I want to do. And queen d8. Yeah, I think black is actually getting a better position. Knight e2. He wants to play c3, transpose the knight here, cover the square against knight h5, f4. Okay, very, very reasonable. Yeah, this is kind of admitting that, you know, you have problems, yeah, because the square is actually pretty relevant. Yeah. Hello, Mr. Tiranmao. Wesley saw game, we'll get there. So knight g3, knight h7. Black plays pretty well. Bishop c4 is safe move, but apparently queen h4 with the idea of knight g5, and then potentially want to transfer the knight here. Gives black a better game, yeah. Bishop c4. Actually, black's advantage is growing and growing. This is also okay, but now the trades are coming. And after the trades, yeah, so let's see. If he takes, take on c2, rook d6, queen g5. And it looks like white has big problems, yeah. If you don't take the queen can go here, rook goes to c3, aggression versus the pawn. But if you take and play rook d7, there is huge threat of doubling here. Huge threat. And you just take the pawn, yeah. And black's advantage is obvious. So he plays queen e7, he makes, you know, one solid move, and after rook c3, white manages to pin one of the rooks and trade it. Because without one rook, white's position is becoming way more defensible. So, very good understanding of defense by white. Again, queen c7, endgame is better for black. Because it's not easy to break through white's defense here. Okay, finally we go into the endgame, and the endgame is, oh, he played knight e3. After knight e3 is nothing. But yeah, the rook endgame is it's probably just a draw, yeah. But okay, let's check it. Take on c3, take on c3, rook c3. You have to play this. And now e3, take here. Now it's equal. Yeah, king f6, you take. And it's equal anyway. Ah, wait, rook c1. King g3, rook f1. That's the idea. You wanna run this pawn. Or the king. Yep. Still very tricky. You had to see this move. Not simple. Check. And not king e5, not active move, but this crazy move. E3. Yeah. Reminds me of one game I played when I was younger. That's how I also won the rook endgame. I played king e7, not the king forward, but king backward. And that won me the game. Okay, so he played knight e3, but after knight e3 there are no threats. Active rook, push the pawn, white king comes, knight gets to c4, but it's nothing, yeah. Because white plays like this, knight protects all the weaknesses, rook is very active. So they agreed on a draw, and Tari moves on to round 3 versus Magnus. All right, so Mr. Tabatabai won this game, won second game. We'll get there, guys. I'll try to go quicker though, yeah. So bishop b5, Spanish. Mr. Tabatabai been practicing, Spanish for a very long time. Also, I played this line against him, so he knows how to play here. Although I think black is fine, personally. a5, a4, first line. And now black is fine. After knight a5 and c5, black is fine. Thanks to this pawn chain. So let's see how he won. Queen c8, take. Knight h2 makes sense. Makes sense. Rook a6. Looks a little bit weird, but perfectly playable, yeah. Knight h5, okay. Knight e5. Black's still playing like the best moves, yeah. So white is actually running into huge problems. All he had to do was play h5, because these knights are kind of dead. Rook f6 is also okay. Actually, there was nothing wrong with taking with the rook and just going back. The computer suggests absolutely crazy h5 waiting move, and then you take on f4. This actually looks very, very strong, but rook f4 looks very human. And he missed this, yeah, because this pawn is hanging. Check. The idea is if he plays c6, he has knight f5, but I don't think that's pretty scary. Yeah, you have check, check. Take on f5, you must, yeah. Check as a must. Rook f5 and just check, yeah. And queen d6 protects everything. Black is better. Alright, so what happened? He played rook e5, still okay. Black is like playing without the knight, yeah? Oh. So he lost in one move. He lost in one move. Knight f5, check, take. If you run king g8, check. There is this thing, yeah. That's the problem. And the problem is this. Black loses the queen. Okay. So knight f5 and f6, but then check here and yeah, same thing, yeah. Take, take, and check. So black just blundered. He had a good position and he came within a few moves, he went and lost the game. Alright. So we looked at that. Heimer wins the match because he won the first game. Also this game. This was pretty fun game. So Abdusattorov, the hot kid, you know, he was showing great results in the last couple of years. and he lost actually the match to the Turkish player and got eliminated. Thank you, Pat, for subscribing, Tier 1. Hello, Mr. Cool WCG. Alright, so black plays semi-Slav, but bishop e7. It's sort of like semi-Slav mixed with the queen's gambit. A3 is a little strange, but okay, possible. Knight h5. White gives up the bishop, but you get the file and you get the support for the central square. So reasonable, yeah. Knight f6, knight e5. The idea was that black wants to play bishop g4, trade the bad bishop, and leave white pawn as weaknesses, because this bishop is bad. So white plays knight e5, the computer suggests to play simply h3 and keep the protection of this pawn. But he plays knight e5, knight d7. Again, the computer suggests queen d6. The threat is to take this pawn, and the bishop goes to e2. Black bishop gets a development. But he plays knight d7. He wants to trade immediately the central knight. Castles. And here he takes with an f-pawn. But I thought taking with the d pawn was very interesting, because these pawns are going to get steamrolling qualities. You know? But okay, fe5 is also okay. Knight e2. f4 is okay. f5, very interesting defensive line. You know, bishop g4 looks more accurate, but f5 is possible. And now white misplayed it, yeah? Really misplayed it. Look at this evaluation, +2 for white. He makes one move and it's minus its advantage black. It's absolutely incredible. Because, you know, apparently this pawn chain was very massive and he had to calculate this line. Queen c2. The threat is rook a1, rook b1 trapping the queen, so black has to give up this pawn. Yeah, queen a5, take on a5. Yeah, and if you don't give up this pawn, if you play like this, then it's pretty much check. And if you play king d8, it's f5. It's a win for white. Yeah, it was kind of weird that he didn't play rook b1. Extremely weird, to be honest. Because this rook b1, queen c2 seems so logical. Yeah. Also a4. And ef6, activating the bishop pair and allowing black to attack this pawn does seem bad, yeah? But okay, the game continues. Check. f5, white is locking out this bishop, but this bishop can come out this way by a6. So b6, queen prevents the bishop a6, queen b5. And black wants to finish the developments. Again, king h1. Very likely loss of tempo. You can play knight f4, knight h5 immediately. Rook d1, knight h5, and take. And again, very surprising white didn't play this, protecting this pawn, attacking this pawn. Apparently the computer says the black's fine, but looks logical, yeah? Rook e1, but king is already safe. Black still has extra pawn. And he's gonna push the pawns in the center. So queen e7, the position is still very, very sharp. Queen c6. Second line, but unfortunately for white, black is just better thanks to the extra pawn. And this was the critical mistake. But queen g7, rook e7 is definitely not the easiest pair of moves to see, because there is not much of a threat. Queen on g7 is kind of bad. So he activates the pawn. He thinks he has compensation, but after queen d6, very strong move, takes care of the dark squares. Potentially queen can go to g3, but most important is a pin. Rook c8. And this appears to be the losing combination because black takes critical pawn and he's still up in exchange, and the threat is to activate the rook. Yeah. Another pawn. Queen g3 and white resigns. Yeah. Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, fascinating game. All right. So that was this. So everybody wants to see Ivanchuk drew with Mr. Cristobal, so they're gonna play tomorrow the tie breaks. This match is also a lot of fun because, you know, Korbov won the first game and then he lost the second game. Incredible. Okay, Mamedyanov got eliminated by this player, which I never heard of. But apparently this guy from Indonesia, Singapore, he's pretty good. Thank you for following. So let's see how Mamedyanov got killed with white. It's not every day you see Mamedyanov getting killed with white. So he plays bishop g5. Okay, bishop e7, trade, knight f6. Looks okay for black. Rook c1. I think this is a little bit premature, but okay. He wanted to play the structure, but this structure is known to be okay for black. Because, you know, but with the knight on c6 is the only problem. It's unclear, yeah? So rook b8 is also not so clear, because you can play knight e7, c6, and then rook b8, but he plays rook b8 immediately. Yeah, obviously he wants to play bishop g4, so white plays h3, knight e7, and now white can play different things. Yeah, he can play queen c2, because if black plays bishop f5, trades the bishop, black is equal, at least. And white can play g4. I like g4, very active move. Actually in Mamedyanov style, so it's played, yeah. c6, very solid. Knight e5 looks premature. Looks very premature, but how do you improve your position without playing this move? Not easy, yeah. Knight e5, black trades obviously, plays king h8, just in case, no checks, no pins, yeah, like f6, knight e4, and he's ready to play f6 and kick the knight out. But this move actually gives white an advantage, yeah. And the computer says b6, e5, but I don't know. I don't think it's like such a really bad mistake. King h8 is fine. Queen here, f6, okay, knight f3. And g5 is extremely interesting move. Yeah, this is a huge fighting move. As you can see, white is actually better, but he had to find f5, which is not the easiest thing in the world. But if you play f5 here, it makes a lot of sense. You completely lock this bishop, you lock this knight out. Yeah. Check, king to d1. If you manage to get your king here, play h4, pretty much white is winning. Yeah. Again, not simple. Instead, Mamedyanov castles here, which is still okay, but black takes the pawn, rook e1, allows queen g3 check. And now I don't understand. What I really don't understand is how can you not play king g2 in this position? You take this huge square under control and you're preparing to do your normal thing, right? Knight b3, knight h4. You can even trade the queens, because look at this evaluation. Black is worse. Was he scared of h5 maybe? But h5 is not good, yeah, because of tactics. Knight g6 coming. So, yeah, to me it's very strange that Mamedyanov didn't play king g2. Very, very strange. I have no explanation for that. Rook f2 just doesn't seem right. Okay, queen g3 check. Logical, but okay, knight f8. And yeah, trading the queens. Yeah, this is where Mamedyanov went really wrong, because now black is fine. because of this very active queen and white pieces being misplaced. Yeah. Full development. Rook is ready to go to g8. Black is much better. b6. Lady of c5. Potentially bishop coming here. c5 anyway. Now the rook has the entry point. d4 and bishop c6 is coming, yeah. So rook c8, knight h3, and white is lost. White is completely lost because he just ignored his pawn structure here. Completely ignored it. Hello, Mr. Chess Pawn. Hey, hey everybody. Hey, Casual Massacre. Thank you for the cheers. Shahryar is eliminated. Yeah, eliminated. And it's very strange moves he played. I don't know why he didn't play King G2. Why he actually gave the pawn on f4. He could play f5 and just very safe advantage. Yeah, he could play very, very safely. And after knight h3, everything is hanging. White king is actually worse than the black king because threats on the first rank, check, very active knight. The pawn is hanging, so the game ended in a few moves. Grab. Apparently not the best move. Queen e5 wins immediately. As you can see, they were starting to get into time trouble here. d3 first. The problem with this move is bishop c8. And queen c8 is correct. But now Shah plays this, yeah. Instead of the very logical queen h6 with idea of rook f8. Yeah, but still good for black. Check. Rook g3. Bishop f1, queen f6 forces the queen trade. Take, take, take. And this is very likely a draw. Okay? Because this pawn is going to be very hard to stop. So, Shah actually had chances, yeah, but he messed up. He played knight g3 immediately, and after this, rook h4, black just didn't give him a chance because this is a mate, yeah. Bishop, rook, knight, and he resigns because of the mate. Yeah, absolutely wild game, absolutely wild game. But the youngster managed to outcalculate the experienced grandmaster. All right, so Mamedov eliminated. One how went through. It's been said that Vallejo took revenge last time he got eliminated by Ivic. And he's gonna play the winner of the Safarli versus Isipenko. Another weird thing. Yes, I heard about Gukesh actually reaching top Indian rating position. He's playing actually countryman in the next round. Naranyan, who is also pretty bloody strong. Giri is gonna play tie breaks, and so does Fressinet. Wait, I went so fast. Yeah. Okay, Dubov. What the hell did I click? Anyway. Oh, I clicked this thing. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, Fressinet is going to be tie breaks. Peter makes draw with white. Qualifies to play Van Forest next round. Adley, Egyptian experienced grandmaster, got eliminated by Van Forest. Okay, let me take a look at the game. Yes, this is the correct play by black. White has just got nothing. Even if you play b5, because if you play b5, the problem is, you know, this bishop is in the wrong location. Black is better. But then black just, you know, goes for the breakthroughs. I don't think this was necessary, but okay, it's also possible. Apparently this is still equal after bishop f4, but Adley doesn't want to draw. He's playing for a win, I guess. And he gets burned, yeah? Because look at this position. Weakness, weakness. And black just piles up on these pawns. Bishop d4, white blunders the pawn. And yeah, 2 extra pawns a win. Okay, so so one forced wins. Dubov beats another Indian GM, and he's gonna have to play the winner of this match. And of course, I am rooting for my old friend Volokidin. Mr. Salim finally won crazy game. Grishuk drew. So it's going to be a tiebreak. Injic Bakro tiebreaks. These guys both are very solid players. Tiebreaks. Dick moves to play Nihal, who won absolutely brilliant games. Let's see his second round win. So white needs to win. He plays this complicated, unbalanced line, and black is just in full control. Black is in full control. Black's position is better. Very safe chess. He missed b4 here actually, but rook e1 looks normal, yeah. Yeah, I don't like knight on b3, but okay. Queen c1, queen d2 is also okay. Knight b4. No, but knight b4 had to be played, yeah. Knight b4, and trying to force the trades. Because if you give your bishop like this, I like queen d6. And black is better, because king is not safe at all. See, black is okay with a draw, so he is happy to repeat the position. White can't repeat the position, and then if he doesn't, then he's gonna lose this game. Yeah, exactly what happened. And e4, boom, the pawn is hanging. Check. Oh, he even took on f3. Wow. Yeah, queen h2 and then e3 looks just absolutely logical, but okay, if possible. And white just blunders, yeah. He could have played king e1 and rook f2 here. Still worse, but okay, some chances, yeah. But probably this point doesn't matter for him. Draw or loss, it's all the same, but obviously it's a loss. Rook has nowhere to go, there are checks. And queen f4, check. Queen f3 was winning. You cannot take this rook because of the mate. Puzzle rush stuff, and then knight f2. So black can make a draw, but he decides to win. All right, so that's a pretty mate. Nepo wins, Fabi wins. Robson also goes through to the next rounds. Anton and this new kid, very, very strong kid. Also, they're gonna play tie breaks. Maksudlu beats another Azerbaijani kid to qualify. Donchenko, Bartel, solid players, tie breaks. Chaparina versus Swain, another strong pair, also tie breaks. Dudas, he could have lost in the first round, but he got lucky in tactics. He wins, and today he makes a draw. Dominguez, very smooth demonstration, wins, goes through. Okay, Shevchenko beats Smirin 2-0, and he plays Serrana. And Musard actually wins, draws the game and it passes through. Yes, you all want to see this game, I know. I know how Wesley so almost got eliminated. Fabiano said that if you force games and risky games, you're gonna get eliminated. He broken all the simple rules. True. Okay. Yes. Yes, I was... no, but the bishop endgame is a draw, probably, yeah? Because there is no way for white to improve his position. I just don't see it. I don't see how white can win that game. Maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible, yeah? But you have to demonstrate absolutely incredible level of play or something. Okay, so we'll find out, because great prep by white, putting Wesley into this bind position, yeah, in the first place. So this is all really well known. Wesley plays a5, and a4 move is apparently first computer line. I know that 20 years ago, Kramnik versus Gelfand was b5, and that's about it. That's about the extent to which I know this line, okay? Because I played b5 against Gelfand also. I don't know this a4 move, but okay, it looks logical, right? What white does is kind of crazy. He makes two moves with the knight to trade this knight. But then he plays c5, and he sort of disconnects these two guys using this bishop. Okay, so b6 for a best line by black. Wesley so finds it. Wesley also finds this, and he plays e5, all the correct moves by the engine. And the only thing is here, he is missing this, yeah? He played bishop c7, very defensive, and he should have played ed4 and bishop b6. The idea is if you take the bishop, it's just equal. So white probably has to take this, and what is this position, yeah? I think white is better after knight c4, yeah? But it's very, very tricky, because opposite color bishops, this bishop is very strong. So, crazy, yeah? And if you play bishop b6 immediately, it's also possible. You run to b4, but it's like the game. So he plays bishop c7, centralization, centralization. Again, probably incorrect one. Take bishop b5, and let's see what happens. b4, you gotta take, takes with the pawn. I was pretty sure white is gonna take on b3 with a knight. But okay, take. Yeah, he plays this. Yeah, you know, it's very hard for the top grandmaster when you're accustomed to making sure your structure is sound and not broken. It's very hard to play a move like bishop b6, like what the computer suggests. You guys have no idea how hard it is to make a move like this and allow this trade. Because this looks like this king is going to be a miniature attack or something, right? If the knight somehow gets, the bishop gets, queen gets somewhere, looks very, very scary. So he plays bishop e5, but unfortunately for Wesley, white finds absolutely incredible resource. Bishop e6 again, a little bit passive. Knight f3, thanks to this queen on b5 being hit. Take on d5, and he takes with a knight. Also, this looks extremely dangerous, yeah? I think a lot of people would just take with a pawn, but Wesley was probably concerned about this pass pawn. So he wants to try to maintain neutral pawn structure. But unfortunately for him, after queen c4, white is suddenly much better. And the reason is one of the bishops has to go. Bishop h5 runs to g4, knight e5. or you take on f3. In both case scenarios, this pawn is going to be very, very weak. So take, f5. Clearly not the best move, but black has problems, okay, already. So h3, here, g4, grab, bishop d6, creating the threat of bishop d5, thanks to the pin. So you have to play this. Take. Why you play this instead of bishop g6 is because of b5, because knight is hanging. So knight b6, make sure there is no b5, but white just takes. And now white has super strong pawn, pair of bishops, almost winning position, yeah? So knight d7, b5. Wesley missed bishop e2, but after this, it looks like white is completely winning. And rook c4 looks so logical, yeah? b7, d4, bishop e6. And now we run into this problem. Because white played rook d7, just, you know, simplified the position, but this endgame, I think, is very close to a draw. So instead of playing this rook d7, he could have played bishop d6 and bishop b4. The threat is this, and the black plays knight b8, rook d8, yeah. And the idea is that this endgame is way more preferable for white, because king is not in time to stop the pawn. You move the rook and win the game. Right, but you know, rook d7 and this is such an obvious choice. Unfortunately for white, after h4, it seems that like it's not very likely to win this game. Because white cannot force black to play h3, and there is always the threat of g3. Yeah, the computer says it's winning, but I don't know. I think it looks like lost. I mean, it looks like a draw to me. So, besides, you don't have much time, yeah? That's the problem. That's the problem, because they're already down to 4 minutes. White is down to 4 minutes until the end of the game. He has no time to find or to calculate anything. So he makes general purpose moves. And this is wrong. See, it immediately went to almost equal. White had to play bishop a5 or bishop b6, and why? Because you need the bishop access to this diagonal, so that black king doesn't get easily to h5. He plays bishop f4. Now, after king e8, this king is coming to h5, okay? There is nothing white can do. And the bishop on h1 is bishop c6, beautiful, stops potential f4, and it's a draw. Bishop d7, creating the threat of bishop h3, and again, f4 h3, because you close this bishop. So white plays bishop g2, and after h3, of course, they agree on a draw. Yeah, so this was very important, actually, theoretical endgame, because the bishop endgame was actually very, very complicated. Probably it's possible to find a win, but you know, it's gonna take engines and it's gonna take long hours of analysis and understanding. Hello, Mr. Mado. Okay. I'm just doing a quick recap because I'm very sleepy. I already seen these games, but I just want to do a recap and give you my understanding of what I saw. So we saw this game. Wesley Rajabov beats Erdos. I didn't see this game, so let's see. So it's classical Spanish. Zaitsev D5 classical, 97. Erdos is usually a very, very solid player, so I'm curious. How did Rajabov win? Okay, yeah, Rook C8 is a little bit weird, but okay, knight here. Oh, you take, okay. A4, C6, okay. And bishop E3, right, White's position is clearly better. This bishop is unopposed and a lot of potential threats. Also potential attack on this pawn. This rook is completely misplaced. And queen e7 doesn't seem right. Yep. And White just kicks this pawn. That's it. Which is why he had to play rook a6 here. Okay. After rook a5 is just free pawn. Pretty much. 97. Yeah, I mean the only way to understand Black's game is if you play queen d8 with the idea of like attacking this rook, but even then, yeah. But 97 is okay, one. Oh, he just blundered in one move. Oh my god. Crazy. Bishop hanging, pawn hanging, you can't take this rook because of the mate. Yeah, Black was down to 1 minute. Not a good position to be low on time. All right, clean victory for Rajabov. We saw this, right? Dominguez wins. Right, Meyer and Santos, very strong grandmasters tie breaks. Grandelis and Tipo tie breaks. Amin tie breaks. Irigasi tie breaks with Azarov. And Fedeseev also tie breaks with Peshak. I never heard of this Peshak guy. So Rager tie breaks and Dragnev. This guy who is 200 elo points lower than Vasily Graf, he takes Legraf to the what's curious about this thing is that again we already seen this move, my move, being played twice in this round, right? Tari played it, now this guy plays it, but this guy plays a5 immediately, and both me and Tari usually, you know, we go for this. But a5 is viable, but d5. And the amazing thing here is that d5 is not supposed to be a good move. The computer gives very interesting line. If you take here, then it's knight d5. Yeah, knight b6, advantage white. But if you take with the pawn, then you get this Najdorf structure where this king is kind of in a weird spot. There are a lot of famous lines like where white sacrifices a pawn to get this king in the center and an initiative. Yeah. So look at this: bishop g5, threat is here, knight d5. So king b8, rook d1. White doesn't even take this pawn back. Yeah. So d5 was very suspect move, to be honest. He plays e5 and e6. Also possible. f4 apparently is the best. Just go for the Grunfeld position. But look at this position, yeah. Also, there was no need to give this pawn rook a3. And at the same time, after rook a3, you want to play c4. Potentially, rook can be very, very useful. Yeah. But he sacrifices this pawn and bishop e3. So black is fine, but white finds a way to make a draw before black stabilizes his position. If black stabilizes his position, he is pawn up, he is better. But white finds a draw. But the fact that a4 has been played, a very, very rare move. My favorite move has been played twice in this round against very solid opponents. You know, it's like a honey on my soul. Okay, it means that my a4 move is verified. Yes, I saw this game. I was very upset that Boris lost. This shows again perfect demonstration of the dangers of Carlsbad structures. Okay, of the dangers of the Carlsbad structures. White wins the pawn, but then he plays b4 for some reason. I mean, he could have taken this knight, yeah, and played b3. Question is, of course, why is bishop b5 not played? And just move like bishop here and then finish the development, yeah. And I think that would have been actually preferable way of playing. Instead, he allows b5. And once this bishop is dead, these pair of bishops, they're looking very, very strong. So let's see the game. Take, take, knight b3, queen e8, knight c5. Black activates the queen. The problem for white is also that black controls this file. g6, bishop goes to f5. Knight goes to e4. Black's compensation starting to look more visible with every move, right? Active bishops, active knights, control of the a file. All is left is create pressure here on the white king side, because this bishop on c3 is dead. So rook a1 trying to trade, but unfortunately for white, queen gets here, and the only question in my mind is why this was not played. Because then you force black to actually trade the good knight for bad bishop, and then bishop g4. Knight e1, I think white could have hold this to a draw, because again, knights are getting very strong, protecting each other, no weaknesses, yeah. Everything is protected, and then eventually at some point you trade the queens and make a draw. So this bishop e1 look extremely passive to me, because now white has absolutely zero chance of getting this queen out of here. This queen is a huge problem for white. So I couldn't understand what was Boris' plan here. Knight d2, okay. So the computer says knight h4, knight f3 back, and it's a draw, which I don't actually think is the final assessment. It's a temporary assessment, but knight d2 is a blunder, because suddenly black, suddenly this knight has no squares, and black is just gonna play h4, h3, and mate white, yeah? No defense. He plays e4, so this knight d2 move was very, very strange. Yeah. I don't know what he missed. He probably thought he can play knight f1, but then you just do this, yeah? And queen f3 resigns. So he plays e4, and then, again, very nice check. If you take here, bishop h3, and the threat is bishop f5, bishop d2, e5, queen g4, queen g2 mate. Yeah. Queen g4 is unstoppable. So he plays here, takes the pawn, and white is completely lost. See, all because of this queen. So not only white, gave black a pair of bishops, because his extra pawn didn't matter at all. Yeah, what mattered was black had active pieces and this monster queen on e2, and that's why Gelfand lost, which is extremely uncharacteristic of Boris, but his opponent played really well, yeah. So Ponomaryov is gonna play tie breaks tomorrow. So I'm gonna try to do the recap of the tie breaks tomorrow. Okay, Friedman didn't manage to beat Vityugov, although he had a better position. And then Pragna made a very pragmatic draw with White versus Legard, knocking Legard out. Navarre versus Hashan, with very strong players. And Mr. Karthik, who is 200 elo points lower rated than Hikaru Nakamura, made another draw with White. Very accurate draw. Very, very solid draw, and Naka had no chance to win this game at all. Because white played so solidly. And it's fine, because, you know, Naka excels in the rapid chess format. H5, check. Queen a3, check, check, and it's a draw. Because if you play king h7, white's gonna play queen c7 and force the king to go, and then perpetual. So that's the recap. The tiebreaks will be quite interesting. Yes, thank you for the subscribing, Mystic Chiluno. That mindset makes you avoid this kind of position, sometimes makes you blind to tactics. It depends. How did Arjun do? He's gonna play tiebreaks tomorrow. Yes, at the end it was a very hard position, and that's why he blundered, sure. But he should not have allowed that queen on e2, okay? Yeah, in a bad position it's easy to blunder, of course, of course. Of course. All right, gentlemen. That was just a quick recap for today, okay? For some reason I'm extremely sleepy, so I'm gonna get some break. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I'll do the recap of the tiebreaks tomorrow. I'll try to do the recaps, if not every day, then once every 2 days, okay? I'll try. Usually I don't stream these recaps, but this is very interesting tournaments. You know, I love World Cup events, and hopefully, you know, you guys will like those recaps, okay? But with this recap done, I'll see you guys tomorrow. That was a quick stream for today, okay? Good night, everybody. Thank you for your support, by the way. I'll see you tomorrow.